Okay, I've created a short checklist for some of you that don't have much information on the subject money. Not economics, as you know, most books on money start talking vaguely about money, then they jump into economics. But I'm going to give you a checklist here to go look it up and research so you can ask others too. So you're going to take this list to your friends, coworkers, doctors, investors, lawyers, bankers, and teachers, and you're going to check each box and go through and see what you and others have read. Okay, and you're going to ask me, have you heard of Merrill Jenkins? Probably not. So I would say 99% of the people haven't read any of this. So this is why we got an uneducated population on the subject of money. So you ask, have you read the Constitution? No state shall make anything but gold and silver coin to tender in payment of debt. And notice that this is how it's written in the Constitution. It's anything, and the thing is capitalized. I've noticed that, and people would say, this is how it's exactly written in the Constitution. Okay, you're going to ask people, have you read the Coinage Act of 1792, and you're going to Google it. You're going to ask if you've read the Presidential Executive Order 1933, removing gold from circulating. You're going to ask people if they've read the Coinage Act of 1965, which states Federal Reserve notes are for all debts, public and private. You're going to ask yourself, or you're going to look these up. Federal Reserve notes there were three different versions from 1913 to 1933. You're going to look these up and see the wording on them. You're going to look this one up, this Federal Reserve note from 34 to 62, and you're going to see the wording was changed. And you're going to look at the Federal Reserve notes now to the present to see that the wording has changed. When you go to the bank, you're going to look for this plaque on the wall somewhere, and it's going to say, backed by the full faith and credit of the United States government. So the government prints up the Federal Reserve notes, but the government has credit from whom? The private banks. This shows you, this is proof and evidence that the Federal Reserve is a private banking system. Why would the government, your government, our government, have credit at the banks if it prints up the money? And then you're going to also look up the silver and gold certificates, which circulated from 1878 to 1964. So you're going to look those up, and you're going to ask if people have seen those. You're going to ask people, have you heard these statements in a discussion about money? You're going to hear people say, the government prints up too much money. And you're going to say, well, they created it. How can they print up too much? You're going to hear these people say the Federal Reserve prints up too much money. Those are conflicting statements that you hear. Or the bank creates money out of thin air, which they actually don't, but I'll explain that in another module. You're going to hear people say gold is money or silver is money. Actually, gold is barter. Can be used as a medium of exchange money. When you exchange with gold with something, you're bartering. They're going to say things like gold-backed money, which is ridiculous. Nixon took us off the gold standard, blaming it on Nixon. And then they're going to say the Federal Reserve is a government agency, which it's not. Here's a couple more phrases you're going to read, and you're going to say, you're going to ask yourself and your friends, who is supposed to create the money? The Federal Reserve notes. You're going to hear people say inflation is rising prices, which is nonsense. It's the essence of what we use as money that is the problem with the legal tender laws. Now, I want you to think about this because most people have no idea. Because the inflation is incorrect use of the word. Inflating a balloon or inflating a tire, that's what they're applying the wrong word to the situation. But that's in another module. I'm just taking it step slowly for you guys. If the government is creating the money now, aka Federal Reserve notes, why don't you pay the IRS directly instead of taxing the people? The public doesn't know how the Federal Reserve notes get from their hands to the Federal Reserve to the commercial banks and into your wallet. They don't know. Oh, and you're going to say you're going to get some crazy answers. I suggest to write the answers down or remember them. And then people will say, it doesn't matter what the government says is the money so long as I can purchase things with. This is another ignorant statement, but I was ignorant too. I didn't know what's going on. So in your high school and college textbooks, the economic textbooks on economics, your college and college economic do not have most of this information that you just read. Isn't that interesting? You're going to go to your economics teacher and ask them a question and embarrass them. You're going to watch them stumble. As you check the boxes, you'll see how the masses of people have not been educated clearly regarding the subject money. I haven't. I studied Merrill Jenkins. That's how I became educated. He's the master teacher. I'm his master student. There's not many people on this planet that can out debate me on this subject. They can only learn from me. There's probably, I don't know, there's probably a handful of people that can out debate me because I'm giving him Merrill Jenkins's information. I'm not doing something new or giving him my opinion. I'm just reflecting what Merrill Jenkins has presented and giving it in a simpler, like a Cliff Notes version of the subject money. Now, here's what's interesting. It's terrible that we are so dependent upon something that we cannot discuss this issue clearly amongst each other. Isn't that interesting? We don't know. We are dependent upon something that we cannot discuss this issue clearly amongst each other. That's interesting because we're uneducated on the subject of money. And here we go. My goal is to create a conversational language to discuss this subject clearly. Once you understand the subject more clearly, you can make a better choice as to whom you associate with and whom you vote for. Now, this is very important. This is why I'm just speaking in slow, different modules on YouTube so you can understand the situation here and you can ask me a question. So that's the end of this module, and there's a lot more to come. I'm just starting. I'm just getting started. I'm learning to use this software.